Starting off the list, number 10 is Nev Schulman. It's only fair I tell you his backstory because he is the creator behind the MTV reality show Catfish. And the only reason the show even exists is because he was once catfished himself in a very brutal way, and his story was actually documented the entire time and turned into an indie movie called Catfish, and then it blew up from there. So it all started when a child named Abby friended him on Facebook and sent him a really impressive painting that was based on one of his photos. From there he began online relationships with the rest of her family, her parents, including her older sister Megan, who he begins to date. They date online for a while before he plans a road trip to go meet her in person. Turns out the entire family is fake. Every single one of them. There is no Abby, no Megan, there's only a woman named Angela Wesselman. She is the artist who painted his picture, and she spends all of her time at home creating over 21 fake profiles to interact with Nev. Keep in mind Nev was 24 at the time and he thought he was dating a 19-year-old, but Angela was actually a middle-aged woman who was married and had 2 disabled stepsons that she was taking care of at home, all while catfishing. Coming up next, number 9 is someone who thought they were dating Bow Wow. Now, I know what you're thinking. Anyone who's dumb enough to think they're dating Bow Wow online deserves to be catfished. It is entertaining to watch someone be so naive, but it's actually hard to watch them genuinely get their feelings hurt because of it. There was an episode on MTV Catfish that told the story of a girl named Kiana who fell in love with who she thought was Bow Wow. She had messaged him through a Facebook fan page and they started a relationship online. She did have some valid reasons to think he was real. He actually sent her $10,000 to help her with some financial struggles that she was having. But after contacting the show and driving 10 hours to Atlanta to meet him, they learned that it was actually a wannabe rapper named D Pimpin'. He's a trans rap artist who gathered the money loans from her relatives to send to Kiana. But the catfishing ended up paying off for everyone in the end because Bow Wow saw the episode and invited both of them to a show. So Kiana's childhood dreams of meeting him came true. However, I don't think D Pimpin' deserved to be rewarded though. He catfished someone. And at number 8 is Manti, the Notre Dame linebacker. Yes, he fell victim to a catfish and his story made headlines because he was mourning the death of a girlfriend that he thought he was dating. He started dating a girl online named Leah Palmer, but he never got the chance to meet her because he was so busy with his football career. But that did not stop him from talking to reporters about her and dedicating all his wins to her. But in 2012 he announced that his long distance girlfriend had died from leukemia. But a reporter who tried to look her up found out that she never actually existed. Leah was actually a fake person made up by one of Manti's male friends named Ronea, who eventually confessed that he was in love with him. But Manti didn't want people to find out all of that, so he faked her death, hoping that no one would ever ask questions or find out. He has since been shamed for lying about her death, but he stands by the fact that he was still the victim in all of this. He spoke on it and said, "The relationship to me was real. The illness, her dying, these were all real to me." I mean, couldn't you have said like you guys just broke up and that you just didn't want to talk about it? Did she really have to like die of cancer? Probably not. Swiping the number 7 spot is Justin is on a mission. This one comes from one of the most iconic Catfish episodes to ever hit the air. The episode has gone down in history, literally. It shares the story of a man named Artis who thought he was dating a girl named Jess online. Off the web, he actually had a girlfriend who was the mother of his 3 kids. Not only was he cheating on his girlfriend with someone he hadn't even met yet, but he was actually preparing to break it off with her if Jess was actually who she said she was. But she wasn't. At all. Joke's on you for cheating. It was actually a guy named Justin who was out on a mission to expose people cheating with strangers online. He actually scared the crew as he came out of his car and started doing this really creepy like slow clapping thing and trying to start a physical altercation with Artis. In the end, Artis admitted everything to his girlfriend and said that it actually strengthened their relationship. And the weirdest part about the whole story, Justin and Artis are close friends now, and in 2014 they launched a YouTube channel together. Weird. Moving on to number 6 is Antwane and Carmen. The 2 cousins have become memes after their hilarious episode of MTV Catfish. So Antwane's cousin Carmen contacted the show over his relationship with a man named Tony. The 2 of them met on a phone chat line 3 years ago and were in a relationship ever since. He claimed to be in love with him even though he actually didn't know his last name, his location, or even his appearance. They only spoke on the phone. He never even saw a picture of him. After a long dramatic hunt to try and chase down the real Tony, we learned that Carmen was actually him the whole time and she catfished her own cousin. Why? She admitted that she enjoyed catfishing people and it was revenge for her cousin putting her down publicly a few years prior. Turns out Antwane called her a fat Kelly Price, and she never got over it. The cousins went years without talking after that and reunited on a special edition of the show in 2016, where they decided to put everything behind them and be close friends again. The whole episode was honestly just a complete waste of time, but it's still worth the watch. It's funny. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Adam, also known as the King of Catfish. He gave himself that title after pulling off a catfish profile on a guy named John. John had met a girl named Kelsey in a psychology chat room and began dating her despite only hearing her voice once and never video chatting. She claimed her reasoning for that was because she had a body dysmorphic disorder. The two of them had a very close relationship online, and John even admitted to sending nude pictures, which made everything worse when we found out that Kelsey was actually a guy named Adam who spends his free time catfishing people. He takes pride in the fact that he fooled John and literally said, "I am the king of catfishes." He went on to explain that he had done it to over 40 people. Sounds like you have way too much time on your hands there, sir. King of catfish. Woo. Wow. Do you know how easy it is to fool people online? Like, you're fine. You're no one. Here we are, number 4, with a serious case of catfish called Leah Palmer. You might have heard about this one because it made headlines after a woman completely stole the identity of a real woman and tried to recreate her life online. She was successful and built a huge online fan base, including a romantic relationship, but none of it was actually real. She created the fake profile and based it on the real life of Ruth Grace's Nev Palmer, an account manager from the UK who was actually living in Dubai. Leah stole her pictures and created a huge social media persona that resulted in her having more followers than the real person, Ruth. She dated multiple people over her years of catfishing, one man coming forward saying he even broke up with his girlfriend to be with her. Well, you're an idiot. They never found out who the person was behind the fake account, which is the creepiest part. Imagine someone basically wearing your life as like a costume and being more successful at it. Alright guys, in the 3rd spot is the story of Angela Buchanan. Unlike the other people on this list, the only thing real about her was her photo. The rest of her life was a lie. The 30-year-old woman from Texas posed online as a gynecologist doctor who survived breast cancer. What the actual hell? She used her account to talk to real breast cancer patients, and one of them she started an online relationship with. Somehow, she was able to convince another 51-year-old woman who actually had breast cancer that entering into an active lesbian relationship with her would release hormones that would fight the malignant cells. Later on in her relationship, she also convinced her to get a mastectomy, a surgery that removes all breast tissue as a way to get rid of or prevent breast cancer cells from spreading. Angela actually accompanied her to the hospital on the day of the procedure. The truth all came out after that and surfaced, and Angela was arrested and charged with online impersonation. She admitted to everything she did and said she had to lie and pretend to be a doctor, or else a woman would have never entered into that intimate sexual relationship with her. That is so messed up. Taking over the number 2 spot is Kid Cole, the scam artist. A woman named Lucille was speaking to what she thought was a rapper named Kid Cole, who claimed to be working with people like Kanye West and Robin Thicke. It wasn't a romantic relationship like the other ones on our countdown. He actually hired her to help organize events, which ended up leaving her in huge financial debt. The truth came out and the whole thing was a scam. He actually had done it to multiple people as a way to get money from people. The music he had on his SoundCloud was completely fake, and in the music world he was actually known for being a scam artist. In the epic episode of MTV Catfish, the host Nev actually takes the phone from Kid's hand and throws it into the ocean. This is a true story, and no, he didn't even buy him a new phone after that. Lucille went on to study criminal justice, and Kid Cole was arrested later in 2015 on suspicion of making 11 terror attacks across the Capitol. So basically he seems like a really good guy. Earning the number 1 spot on our list is Shelly Chartier. She is the woman behind the most famous catfishing story of the century. Her catfishing scandal went international and rocked the sports world because it involved the NBA star Chris Anderson, aka Birdman. To sum up the very long and twisted story, Shelly stole the pictures of a 17-year-old Instagram model named Paris Dunn and created a fake account with them. The real Paris Dunn had posted on Chris's Facebook page and invited him to call her and dropped her phone number. There's your first mistake. So Shelly texted Paris and pretended to be Chris, and that is how it all began, because the real Paris thought that she was actually texting Chris. Paris ends up sending some selfie sexies and nude pictures, which Shelly forwards to Chris from her fake account. He began engaging with her after he was told that she was 21, and from there they started to send nude photos back and forth and began a sexual online relationship. Shelly ends up planning this in-person meetup, Paris and Chris having no idea that they are talking through a third person the whole time. Paris ends up flying to Denver and having a weekend with Anderson, which was confirmed to be sexual based off their messages following that weekend. Shelly ends up coming forward with the truth and started to threaten them, asking for thousands of dollars or she will expose their messages, showing that he had what would be considered child pornography since Paris was only 17. Shelly ended up getting arrested and charged with 7 counts of fraud, impersonation, extortion, and threats, and was sentenced to 18 months in jail. Birdman ended up losing his position on the team and his reputation was shot, all because of a really bored Canadian girl. She has given us Canadians a bad look. We are all not like that. I promise. Beginning in list number 10 is getting catfished by your own fiance. So that wedding is getting called off. A 21-year-old girl named Christina wrote into MTV Catfish asking for help to find her online lover. The only thing was, she was already in a 2-year relationship with a girl named Sammy who she lived with and was engaged to. They were living in a small house in Detroit, Michigan after Sammy picked up her life and moved from Ohio to be with Christina. But when Christina and Sammy were going through a rough time, she had found love in a girl named Faith who she met online and dated for 7 months. Now, Sammy was aware of this whole thing. She knew Christina was in love with Faith and that she wanted to meet her in person. We should have known that something was fishy because no fiance would be cool with that. The crew traveled all the way to Mackinac Island ferry stop but got stranded due to inclement weather. That is when the truth was revealed and Sammy admitted that she was Faith. It was her the whole time. She explained that she did it to see if Christina was cheating on her again because apparently they had the same issue in the past. There was no happy ending for the two of them. Sammy apologized and wanted to work things out, and Christina ended things and called off the engagement. Next up at number 9 is Oh Jose. A man named Danny fell head over heels in love with a girl that he met online named Rosa. He was dating her for 2 years and unlike most catfishes, they actually talked on the phone every single day. The couple met on Facebook in 2014 and continued to date regardless of some red flags. Raise your hand if you ever done that. Rosa looked like a gorgeous girl and her voice on the phone sounded very feminine and sweet, so it was odd that she never wanted to meet up in person. But she had no choice when MTV Catfish host Nev and Max hunted her down to get the truth. Turns out Rosa was actually a guy named Jose, one of the most shocking reveals of all time because Jose did a sample of his fake Rosa voice and it was scary how realistic he was. His female voice is honestly a talent. He sounds more feminine than I sound. Not only was Danny and the rest of the crew completely shook, but the world was too. People took it to Twitter and one user wrote, "Jose is in the wrong profession. Can someone make him a voice actor?" He did explain himself though and said that he never meant to hurt Danny. He was actually trying to get back at the girl in the pictures that he used. Apparently her name is Natalie and she bullied him in high school. Swiping the number 8 spot is Ramon and Paola. I want to say that this one was one of the most shocking episodes of Catfish ever, but I feel like I could say that for every number on the list. This one was pretty crazy though. So 19-year-old Ramon contacted Nev and Max and wanted to track down his online girlfriend named Paula Rodriguez. They met on Facebook via a mutual friend and they were dating for 8 months when he contacted the show. Ramon actually video chatted with her once, but it was this whole big Skype ordeal because the girl who showed up for a split second on the call didn't look like the girl in the pictures. Paula shut off the camera quickly and then said that it was her cousin named Loida. First red flag. Paula also told him on multiple occasions that she was lying to him about things but didn't want to tell him what. Second red flag. She also asked him for a couple $1,000s and a new phone, which he provided. Third red flag. To top it all off, this idiot, no offense Ramon, provided his personal bank information to her so she had access to it. Fast forward to the truth, it was actually a girl named Loida, you know, the fake cousin from the Skype call. So in the end, Ramon actually did see the real her at one point in time, he just didn't catch on to it. The worst part of the story is that Paula used the money he sent her to buy herself an engagement ring, which he showed off to people around her, saying that he proposed to her. Some be crazy. It's girls like her who give us a bad name and a bad rep. In spot number 7 is the catfish she got catfished. So there's a guy named Johnny who was once busted for catfishing people. Apparently he didn't like the taste of his own medicine because he wrote into the show during a later season and asked Nev for help with finding out who was catfishing him. That is some karma if I've ever seen it. While on the show, Johnny came out as gay and opened up about his personal life, which might be why Nev and Max were a little more understanding. After being the catfish, Johnny, as himself, started dating a guy online named Connor. He was desperate to meet him, but he always made an excuse, so they did what they do best and they hunted him down. This was a big deal for Johnny, who admitted that it would be his first relationship with another guy. But it ended up being one of his ex-girlfriends named Shanna, a girl he dated before his first episode when he was the catfish. Max was confused because he thought that he was gay, and Shanna was confused because she thought that he was straight. The only reason Shanna ever catfished him was because he ghosted her, so she made this fake account to try and just get some answers. Johnny was humiliated and said that this whole thing was embarrassing. They started to ask him about his sexuality, and he said, "I don't know the answer to that. I could be either one. I don't think that's anybody else's business." Well, it kind of is when you're on national television and you catfishing people. Just saying. At number 6, we have Ashley and Mike. This one is sad, so I'm going to get serious for a second. I thought it would be important to include them on this list and share their story. Ashley Sawyer first appeared on the second season of the show when she was trying to find her online love named Mike Fortunato. What ended up happening was that it was a double catfish. We thought that Mike was the only catfish, but it turns out that Ashley was too, and when they finally met in person, the truth came to surface. They were both using fake altered pictures in their initial chat room meeting because they were both self-conscious about their actual appearance. But they were able to remain friends after the show, and they could express their insecurities and share that with each other, which ended up being really special. Sadly, just 1 month after the episode aired, Mike passed away from a pulmonary embolism. According to Ashley, she and Mike had been in contact all the way up until his death. But in 2016, it was a very sad day for MTV when they learned that Ashley had passed away from a heroin overdose. Their story still lives on, and both Nev and Max sent out condolences, and they shared their episode in a special to show the friendship and bond that the two of them had created. Halfway through the list, number 5 is They Catfished MTV. It was from their latest season in episode 34 when Taylor reached out to MTV asking for help to find her high school sweetheart. The two of them never actually met in high school, but her online love Christian knows information about her that makes her believe they did attend the same school. Christian lives in Atlanta and comes up with all the classic excuses for why they can't meet up or FaceTime each other. Nev brought on a guest host, Tallulah Willis, and they took on the case and tracked Christian down. Throughout the episode, you kind of get this weird vibe from Taylor that she could be lying about her story. After traveling to Atlanta, they find out it's actually two people named Jade and Austin who apparently made the account for fun and claimed that they never met Taylor before. It was just random and for fun. Things were not adding up though, and the truth finally came out, as it always does. The whole thing was fake. Taylor was actually friends with Jade and Austin, and they planned the whole thing together. Taylor admitted that she wanted to get on TV and boost her Instagram following, and she did, which is really annoying. But she will forever be able to say that she catfished MTV. Here we are, number 4, with Joanna and BO. Joanna contacted the show to meet the girl she had been dating online named BO. It was a big deal for her because it was the first relationship she ever had with a girl. The two of them attempted to meet up at a gay club, but Joanna chickened out and cancelled. And then the second time was during a trip to Vegas. Joanna ended up meeting BO's friend Anna first, and they ended up hooking up. Oops. Fast forward to their official meeting on MTV when Joanna thought she was going to meet BO. Instead, she ended up face to face with Anna. That's right, Anna and BO were the same person. The person behind the BO pictures looked completely different, so she told Joanna that she was Anna, a friend of BO's. Probably as a way to see if she would accept her for who she was, which she did. So not only did she catfish her, but she also hooked up with her as herself. So really, she was the winner in this situation. She did apologize though, and rumor has it that after the episode aired, the two of them remained friends and gave their relationship another try. And it was not successful. Alright, and our third spot is Mary the Catfish Queen. She has been caught catfishing by MTV on multiple occasions, so she must be really good at it. Or really bad if she's getting caught. After being busted as the catfish a few times, Mary admitted to Nev that it was an addiction she couldn't break. Which is why they hesitated to help her when she later reached out saying that she might be getting catfished. Clearly, they are way more forgiving than I am. She was dating a guy named Adam online for a few years, but he never wanted to meet up with her. Mary was happy in the relationship because it was the first time she was showing her actual self, and she felt happy that Adam did not mind her weight. One thing that stood out was that Adam told Mary he had cancer, which on this show is usually a dead giveaway that the catfish is lying. But they end up traveling to Alabama anyways to meet him and get the true story. Once meeting him, they were surprised to see that Adam was actually the person in the pictures. That's a first. However, the truth was revealed that he was catfishing Mary and wasn't being truthful about everything. He admitted that he does not have cancer, obviously, and that he is actually a female to male transgender that had not come out to his family yet. Mary being the sweet catfish that she is, was willing to accept this and continue the relationship, but Adam said he never saw it that way and it was always just a friendship to him. So there was no happy ending for Mary. Taking over the number 2 spot is dating Katy Perry. For 6 years, a man named Spencer Morrill thought he was in an online relationship with the real pop star. Bro, you've no one to blame but yourself. He had never met her, obviously, and had only spoken with her on the phone one time throughout their 6-year relationship. After MTV got involved and the investigation went down, the truth came out that it was a Canadian girl named Harriet Herbert. She started the persona when she was just 12 years old, and she picked Katy Perry because she was a big fan. Harriet took the whole thing as a joke and said that she was excited to be on Catfish because she was also a fan of the show. She even tweeted out, "I catfished this Katy Perry on a dating website and I got 3 guys to buy Prismatic World Tour tickets." The story got back to Katy herself and she said her opinion on it. First and foremost, she called Harriet gross. So there goes Harriet's dreams of being her friend. She also went on to address Spencer and said, "My heart goes out to him actually. Anybody who's been fooled like that. People have dreams and people live in different parts of the world where not everything is always so accessible. I feel bad for him." Shame on Harriet, and good for you, Katy, for not supporting her behavior. Taking over our number 1 spot is the story of Lincoln Lewis. This one is insane, you guys. It went above and beyond the MTV show. It actually is a crime that made news headlines. To sum it all up for you, a 29-year-old woman named Lydia Abdelmalik impersonated an Australian pop star Lincoln Lewis online and began to prey and harass women. She did the elaborate scan for 4 years where she cyberbullied, manipulated, and tormented a group of women who cannot be named for legal reasons. Lydia went as far as stalking them and one time sent explicit images of the girl to her father, mother, and brother-in-law and then threatened to harm them and her niece. Once she was caught and they were able to track her down, she was arrested and sent to prison for 2 years and 6 months on 6 counts of stalking. But recently in June of this year, 2019, it was announced that she was granted bail. The victims have come forward and called Lydia cruel and calculated and said they will be traumatized forever. They all came forward saying they couldn't sleep, had panic attacks, and suffered from depression and anxiety. One of the victims, named Emma, actually committed suicide because of this back in October 2018. She was one girl who was in a romantic relationship with who she thought was Lincoln Lewis, and he, Lydia, mentally abused and tortured her. Lydia, on the other hand, has shown no remorse or emotion towards the victims. Starting off the list, number 10 is Double Deceit. A 21-year-old girl from North Carolina named Oceana reached out to MTV Catfish after dating a girl she met online. That's usually how the story goes. She met a girl named Nelly on Instagram and they started a relationship which lasted 6 months. After Nelly bailed on an in-person meetup, Oceana cut her off. But Nelly returned in a very unexpected way. Turns out her ex-girlfriend Kira had been DM'd on Instagram by a girl named Kayla, who was a friend of Nelly's. But guess what? Kayla and Nelly have the same phone number. So Nelly was really Kayla and she was just messing with both of them, right? Not quite. Since so many people are involved, it's a little confusing, so here's what really happened. Turns out it was a completely different person named Raven. Nelly told Oceana that Raven was her best friend, but really it was her the whole time, and both Oceana and her ex Kira got catfished by the same person. She said she created a fake profile from the start because she didn't think Oceana would talk to her if she showed who she really was. Just when you think you got it all figured out, bam, a catfish bites you in the I honestly totally thought I had this one figured out when I was watching it. Did not. Up next, number 9 is It All Started with an Exotic Dancer. Doesn't sound like a horrible start, but let's find out how it ends. A 26-year-old hottie from LA named Dallas found an exotic dancer on Instagram named Safari. They started talking online and continued for 2 months without any FaceTime chats or phone calls. Dallas was convinced that she was real because her social media was filled with pictures and videos that seemed to be legit. She even showed her kinky side by asking him if he'd have a threesome with her roommate Kevin. So to Dallas, she seemed like a real exotic dancer that he might be able to meet eventually. And possibly have a threesome. It wasn't an exotic dancer at all, it was actually a guy named William. Turns out that William had seen Dallas around town a few times and thought that he was hot, so he went to his friend Safari, a real person, and thought it'd be fun to just scheme the whole thing. She was actually in on it, but Dallas was actually never talking to her. I guess Dallas was posting nudes on a special account that earns him money from people who subscribe, so Williams thought he might be gay. The whole catfish ended with William basically defending himself, saying that Dallas shouldn't be selling his goods to the gay community if he's not gay. It became a whole other issue that really didn't need to be an issue, and William wasn't all that sorry about it. Coming at number 8 is Cheeto Dust. You're probably wondering what the hell I mean by Cheeto Dust, but I promise I will explain. So there's a guy named Mike who moved to California in hopes of becoming a trophy husband. His words, not mine. After he moved to Cali, he met a hottie named Joey on Grindr, but he kept bailing on plans to meet up and only video chatted in the pitch dark. So of course, he contacted MTV to help him get it all figured out. Who are you gonna call? MTV Catfish! Literally, they are the best. Actually, I might be a better investigator, but they're pretty good. Turns out that Joey was actually a guy named Mikey, and he was once good friends with Mike. But their friendship had gone sour, and that is why he decided to catfish him to make him feel stupid. So what happened in their friendship? Apparently, Mike had slept with one of Mikey's exes, but he denies it, so the two of them have just been at each other's throats ever since. Which leads us to the Cheetos part. They get into this heated, ridiculous argument, and Mike says, "Next time, do your effing makeup. This is a reality show, not an effing horror show." Then Mikey replies with, "You're like covered in Cheetos dust," referring to his horrible fake tan. Probably my favorite insult ever. Like, it's not nice, but it's kind of hilarious. There's been times in my life when I've looked like I was covered in Cheetos dust, so I can say that. I've had some pretty bad fake tans. Sliding to number 7 spot is Traves and Candy. I ain't trying to stir the pot, but like, if anyone I met online told me their name was Candy, that would be the first red flag that it ain't their real name. No offense to anyone who's actually named Candy, but you never know. But she is from Vegas, and they did point out that it could just be a stage name. Travis met her online, and the two of them started dating, and things were getting pretty serious. When he reached out to the show, he was thinking of asking her to move to LA with him so that he could help her out with some of her financial burdens. But he was skeptical because she wouldn't meet up or video chat. Not to mention, she asked him on a few occasions for some money to help pay her bills. This is just checking off all the catfish boxes, let's be honest. Turns out Candy isn't real, and neither is her name. Her name is actually Brianna, and she isn't the girl in the picture she was using. She ends up admitting that she's been catfishing multiple men for over 6 years, trying to scam them for money. But she does get emotional in the end and says that she is going to stop. That is up to us if we want to believe her or not. Travis wasn't all that forgiving. In the number 6 spot is Copy Catfish. This one is a different kind of a catfish story. MTV Catfish refers to it as copy catfish. It's when someone steals your pictures online pretending to be you and basically replicates your entire life, almost in like a weird stalking way. Back in 2015, a 20-year-old girl named Felicia had her photos stolen by a girl named Jacqueline Linkwood, who changed her profile name to Felicia and started sending out friend requests to the real Felicia's friends. She began posting hateful comments and really disturbing posts, and Felicia started to lose friends because they thought it was actually her. Felicia reached out to MTV for help, and they tracked down the girl behind the bullying account. Jacqueline Linkwood was actually a girl named Tracy Arma, who went by the name Tracy Barbie. Apparently, she is a huge MTV fan and spends a lot of her time posting on MTV fan pages. Her life goal is to have her own MTV show based around her life, and I guess she thought that appearing on Catfish might help with that. After the episode aired, she posted on her real Facebook saying, "And now that I'm finally on MTV, this is my dream come true. Yes, thank you Lord." She later posted videos saying that she loves to impersonate people and said that she is now famous and everyone is jealous of her. Honey, you just burned every bridge with MTV. You will never get your own show. You're literally nuts. She's crazy. Halfway through the list, number 5 is Andrew and Zach. On my previous list, I talked about the legendary guy named Johnny, who has been on Catfish a few times, but I've never actually told you guys the story of how he catfished someone. It all began with Tinder. Good old Tinder. A guy named Andrew met a guy named Zach on Tinder, and the two of them started an online relationship. I feel like that makes sense. Andrew wasn't as naive as other people on the list, and he caught onto the signs, and he knew that Zach was lying about who he was. However, he still wanted to meet him because he believed that their connection was something real, so he contacted MTV. Once they hunted down Zach, we realized that it was actually a guy named Johnny. He lied about pretty much everything besides his age, and said the reason was because he has not come out to his family yet. He also said he made the Tinder profile in the first place as a way to check up on his ex. You've done that, don't even lie. Andrew was actually pretty understanding, and the two of them spent some alone time together, and then they agreed to be friends. It was a big deal for Johnny because not only was he coming out to his family, but he was actually coming out on national television, which would be really scary. Here we are, number 4, with someone who went from seeking revenge to finding compassion. It started out as a really conniving catfish scheme of someone wanting to get back at their ex. A woman named Paris fell in love with a girl online named Tara, who she met in a chat room 4 years prior. They were never able to meet up, and Paris did a Google image search of her own and realized the image came up as another woman. So by the time she wrote into MTV, she already had some leads. All signs pointed to her ex-girlfriend Mary, well, ex-online girlfriend, I should say. They all flew to New York and showed up at Mary's doorstep, where she was apparently living happily married. She ends up admitting that it was her the whole time and said that she did it for revenge. She tells them straight up, I quote, "At one point it was very malicious. I felt like I was doing something to hurt her like she hurt me." But then she went on to say that she really did feel bad about the whole thing. She then said, "Over time, revenge became less of a goal and turned into more of a compassion and concern, as I witnessed so much you were going through and the hard times you dealt with." Mary says that she started to build a close friendship with her through the Tara profile, so she didn't know how to tell her. They were able to hug it all out, but they did not stay in touch after the show. In our 3rd spot is the first grandma to ever get catfished. An older woman named Jeanette was the first ever grandmother to appear on MTV's Catfish after her daughter Shantae wrote into the show. She was basically tired of watching her mom getting hurt by a man named Derek, who she met on Plenty of Fish, and they started dating. The two of them got serious, and they were even talking about getting married and having kids, despite the big age difference between them. Red flags were everywhere. FaceTimes never worked, and they were only a 6-hour drive from each other, so you could have met up if you really wanted to. Like they always do, they tracked Derek down, who turned out to be a woman named Derica, who says she used the Derek account as something to do because she was bored. But she admitted to having dating other women and said that everything she said to Jeanette as Derek was true, putting name, age, and gender aside. Derica revealed that she wanted to continue their special connection, but Jeanette made it clear that their bond is not the same as it used to be and is not interested. Moving on to number 2, we have a simple case of straight up rejection. It was titled as one of the craziest twists of all time when a woman named Robin appeared on the show and met up with the person she thought was her boyfriend Wayne. The two of them dated online for 3 years, but he would never FaceTime her and would only call her by using private phone numbers. Sketchy. Robin even revealed that at one point she sent Wayne $300 to buy a new phone. Wayne was using pictures of a model and everyone was seeing right through it. Everyone but Robin, that is. They quickly discovered that the pictures belonged to a popular Instagram user from Mississippi. When they tracked down the person behind the Wayne account, they showed up to his home in Atlanta, where he was living in a huge mansion with sports cars lined up in his driveway. So clearly not someone who needs $300. Wayne really is a man named Wayne, but he doesn't look like the model in the pictures. He's not a bad looking guy or anything, but he used the fake account and the $300 because apparently he wanted to see if she was using him for his money or if she genuinely cared for him. Turns out he was married when they first started dating, but got a divorce partway through. However, he openly admitted that he had cheated on Robin and actually wanted to have multiple girlfriends at one time. The story ended with him offering for her to live with him and his other girlfriends, and also wanted to give her a Maserati. However, she was straight up offended, appalled, and said hell no. When MTV caught up with him a few months later, he was still single. Shocking. Taking the number 1 spot is Machine Gun Kelly Got Catfished. This episode had gone down in history because Machine Gun Kelly appeared as a guest host and somehow he got fooled in the process and was pissed about it. And lucky for us, it was all caught on tape. A girl named Tundra wrote into the show after meeting her online crush Emily through Facebook. The two of them built a strong bond, but red flags started to appear very quickly. It normally does. Emily suddenly left out of town. She also asked Tundra to send money to her cousin. She deactivated her Facebook account. She texted her from 5 different phone numbers, and she only sent her 3 pictures in total. Now stay with me through this. Nev and Machine Gun Kelly realized that one of the phone numbers is linked to a girl named Geraldine who has pictures kissing Emily. They track her down and realize that the girl in the pictures is actually a girl named Melanie, who really did date Geraldine. So they find out that they broke up on bad terms, and Geraldine used Melanie's pictures to catfish people as a way to get back at her. But then a total curveball happens and we find out that the whole thing is a setup. Hundra asked her friends to play along with the whole thing and said she just wanted to use Catfish as a way to come out. Machine Gun Kelly was pissed and he chased her car down the street because he was missing Father's Day to film that episode that ended up being fake in the end. I would have been just as pissed off.